Back of Ethiopia, they chanted. Hundreds of protesters rallied outside the White House in Washington to voice their support for the Ethiopian government and denounce the U.S. government's foreign policy there, which is seen as sympathetic to rebels fighting Addis Ababa. They held placards expressing support for Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and also slammed U.S. sanctions on the country and its neighbor Eritrea, which they said were meant to force Abiy to give in to his aggressors.
Ethiopians can govern their own affairs. The United States should not be interfering in this, and that is why we are here. We are here to say no more Afghanistan, no more Syria in Ethiopia. Ethiopia can decide its own fate, and the interference that we see from Western countries is totally uncalled for. It's not necessary, and it should stop.
Over 100 million people are supporting the current government, and here in diaspora have a high support of what's going on in Ethiopia. So we're trying to tell the Biden administration don't interfere. Ethiopia is a sovereign nation. We can make decisions and should not be supporting the terrorist group who wants to come back to power again by force.
Rallies were also held in London. Protesters waving Ethiopian and Eritrean flags denouncing what they termed as Western bullying. The U.S. has sanctioned Asmara for its role in the conflict in Ethiopia.
Researchers in Morocco unveiled the oldest jewelry dating back between 142,000 and 150,000 years. This discovery was made near a Sawira resort in Bizmoun, located in the southwest region of the country. This is a major discovery for Morocco and for humanity. It is believed that some of the discovered necklaces were used as form of communication in the ancient time. Today we are presenting a finding made in Bizmoun Cave, 15 kilometers from the town of Essaouira. This discovery corresponds to 30 seashells, perforated and inked, also meaning that human applied a red substance rich in iron oxide to these shells. The discovery was made by an international team composed of INSAP in Rabat, the University of Arizona, and the Mediterranean Laboratory of Prehistory, Europe, Africa. The researchers unveiled several necklaces and bracelets made of small pierced shells colored with red ochre, found a few weeks ago in Bizmoun Cave, near Essaouira, located in the southwest region of the country. The age of the shells is from 150,000 years. Currently, that means they are the oldest known in the world. The second implication is that this is the first time that humans use their bodies as a means of communication among themselves or with members of other groups, more or less distant from their place of origin. The researchers further recall that Morocco was a site where one of the oldest Homo sapiens in the world was identified. 5 individuals dating back some 315,000 years were discovered in 2017 in Jebel Iroud by the team of French researchers Jean-Jacques Hubli.
Nigeria has launched a mass Covid-19 vaccination campaign in Abuja in an attempt to prevent a rise in cases of coronavirus. After several months since the introduction of the vaccines, some patrons say they are now convinced about the immunization. This comes after repeated government assurances about the safety of the vaccines.
I waited this long to take the vaccination because I wanted to be sure of which to take. So after my analysis and news and messages from across the world, so I decided to take the vaccine today.
At this point, I just think it's necessary. We are convinced about the scientific process that brought about the various vaccines and collaborated both locally and internationally. Our Hamdok has also collaborated, so it's safe.
At Eagle Square in the country's capital, Abuja, dozens waited to receive the AstraZeneca and Moderna vaccines. Vaccination sites will also be set up at private health facilities, universities and shopping malls.
Being able to secure up to 100 million doses of the vaccines. So we expect that with 2 doses, that approximates to about 50 million Nigerians, right? And when we know that we're going to be targeting 112 million Nigerians, that's right around 50%.
The West African nation has reported 2,973 deaths since the emergence of the pandemic and is aiming to reach herd immunity against the virus. Libya's interim Prime Minister Abdul Hamid Dbeibah on Sunday filed his candidacy to run for president in next month's elections, despite being barred from elections under the current rules. Abdul Hamid Dbeibah is meant to lead the country until a winner is declared following presidential elections on December 24. He is the latest high-profile candidate to emerge in the race. He submitted his application a day before the November 22 deadline. Today, I present my candidacy papers to serve you and not for anything else for the upcoming presidential elections, and we ask God to help us all for the good of the country and the good of this great nation and this great people. Hamid Dbeibah had promised he would not seek office in the vote as a condition to taking on his caretaker role earlier this year. It remains unclear whether the country's electoral commission will accept his candidacy. A number of Sudanese youth took to the streets of Khartoum, Kassala and the northern city of Atbara on Sunday protesting the newly signed deal between Sudan's Prime Minister Hamdok and General Fattah al-Burhan. The youth expressed disappointment at Hamdok, saying they will not agree to any deal involving the army. Currently, Hamdok is no longer accepted in the street. If you hear the chant now, they all changed to calls against him. By doing what he did, he betrayed the street. He betrayed all the deals we had with him for a civilian government and a transition to civilian rule. Just as protesters burnt millions of ties on the street, they will continue to do so, regardless of those who object. With this step, which is hard to describe, Hamdok has truly let down the youth and the Sudanese people. Sudan's Prime Minister Abdalla Hamdok was the face of the country's fragile transition to civilian rule for more than 2 years before he was ousted and detained in a coup last month. The return of Hamdok has been a key demand for the international community.